And bringing this now inward, not just outward, looking at the sun, the moon, and the earth, and all these, plants and animals. Inwardly, we have to metabolize these things inside of us. And really, when we are moving to blend polarities or energies outside, we should also be moving in the heart. So the importance of the center, the heart, all these things need to be catalyzed and merged together in the heart. So top left, this image of this flower or this heart pattern, and it implies a heart pattern by being these 4 outer chambers or 4 directions with a center. This is in a fairly recently discovered temple that's in Teotihuacan, that's underground. It's a very interesting thing. If you go there, it's to the left of the Temple of the Moon. Don't miss it. These columns have this carved image going up and down. Lower left picture, a heart. And this heart has been opened to release the liquid of transformation. And all these depictions of the heart and, quote, sacrifice in the Aztecs codices, I'm telling you, are mistranslations or misunderstandings of what was being depicted. The Aztec and Nahuatl way, the Toltec way, is about self-sacrifice, not about some kind of, creating suffering or immolation of people. This is a very sort of propagandistic spin that has been put on the entire Mesoamerican culture set in order to try and justify, conquest and taking gold and taking lands and all this stuff. And you can read about it from a few sources. The Burning Water book by Sojourn is also a place to read about that. But the emphasis is on the heart. And in the upper right picture, the Sufi tradition, the heart with wings. This is kind of one of the goals of transformation, is that the heart is healed, the heart is given wings, it's empowered, and its ability to go through life supporting a consciousness that's going through transformation. And from the lower right-hand image, as a soul passed out of life, the heart was figuratively or symbolically weighed by Anubis against a feather. Did you undergo transformation? Were you able to blend the elements together in a way that you weren't just caught in polarity, but were you ready to go to whatever the next path or the next station was? All right, also in the Toltec and any high civilization is going to be an understanding about cycles, about the cyclic nature of life and of time. So not only the progression from, birth or infancy to adolescence to maturity and death, but also viewing nature and cycles of nature in the same circular way. On the left bottom, Celtic depiction of this interaction of nature. The Celts were very much into understanding this. In the center, this depiction from the Aztec calendar, which is the turning of world ages or different suns, very much an understanding that something else is coming, that there have been civilizations before us, there'll be other civilizations after us. And then on the bottom right, the medicine wheel from Native American. So we in the West have this very linear view of time. We think that, the Big Bang was there, and then we evolved, and we're the highest civilization that ever existed, and we're just going to keep going up and up. High civilizations understand that everything works in a cycle. So our civilization is going to turn over someday into something else. That's just the way it is. So a true Toltec teaching is going to understand the nature of time and life in cycles. All right, this one's very easy to see by things that were left behind by the builders, by the Toltecs, the master craftsmen in Mesoamerica and other cultures. On the left, upper left, is Teotihuacan. That's the Temple of the Moon, taken from the Temple of the Sun. On the upper right, this is Machu Picchu. Again, working with stone. In this case, this may have been the Inca or the Moche or some people who are in the Andes. It's said to have been built, Machu Picchu, by one of the Inca emperors as his luxury resort getaway. I don't think so. I think it's much older, and I've written a book about this that you can find on Scribd called The Unveiling of Machu Picchu. Bottom picture, Egypt. Again, these guys work with stone. They specifically commonly work with granite and with limestone, and there are reasons for this that are energetic, as well as scientifically proven. What happens to these materials over time, what happens when water courses over them, what kind of electrical fields they produce. There are even books about how dolmens and other stone sites using granite and limestone were like concentrators for energy to help seed sprout, seed development. And stone definitely, lasts longer than building in other materials, and the ways you can configure stone and use stone affects consciousness, again supporting transformation. And that's really what a civilization is all about, is transforming and developing consciousness. So any civilization, any group of folks who are concerned or think about developing your consciousness, are going to be building in stone, and intentionally building, not just throwing up things based on what land they can buy and how big they can make the building. It's a lot more thought goes into it than that. Working with gold as well. On the left, tumi from the Andean cultures. In the center, an Inca coin or piece of jewelry. And on the right, Tutankhamun. Gold is typically associated with the sun, but gold also has specific electrical properties that facilitate a positive effect on consciousness. Also, high culture like the Toltec is going to communicate with pictograms. And there are all kinds of pictograms at Teotihuacan. They call them frescoes that are on the wall, some of them that were removed and placed in the museums in Mexico City. But in this slide, we have the same thing going on with hieroglyphs in the Egyptian cultures. We have in the middle a form of Mesoamerican. This writing style is Mayan. And then we have pictograms from the Asian Chinese cultures. So a high civilization is going to communicate information as densely as possible, and it's going to do that in the form of pictograms. Our alphabet is not very effective in terms of communication of information in dense capacities. It's a very, again, linear form of script. You have to put many of these symbols together in order to make a word, whereas just by looking at these pictograms, you can get what the concept or the represented idea is instantly without having to follow this trail of characters.